Well, we're back after all this time. What feels like an eternity since the, well, I won't mention that. I won't start off on a negative. But yeah, Spilling the Beans, your Giving Beans podcast is back for a new season of non-league action, new league, same old faces. Oh, got a light come here. Hi, Ron, you okay?
Hey.
Nice for you to join us tonight.
Sorry.
So we're back once again with the usual nonsense, but this time with a different, more non-league flavour, as we're about to discuss and digest. But let's go around the table and introduce everybody and see what you've been up to over this fine summer. I'll start with you, Steve. How have you been? How have you been passing the days?
Well, I've been thoroughly enjoying my extended break at the taxpayer's expense. And I'd like to thank everybody that has that clear delusion that is the case. And I'd like to thank all of you and hope that you're having a wonderful time looking after your children. Thank you.
Steve works in education, by the way, in case you can't tell, in case you couldn't see the size of that chip on his shoulder. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, Jonny. Just really glad and really relieved that you've not done a Paul Hornby and sacked us all. So raring to go again this pre-season. I've probably spent the summer like a lot of people kind of watching the World Cup and a bit of cricket here and there, but generally just kind of surveying the wreckage of last season and the rebuild that's underway.
Nice. Fraser?
Yeah, like Dave, was all consumed by the World Cup, but nothing major to report from here. I'm just looking forward to the start of the Enterprise National League season, of course, which we're all thoroughly looking forward to.
What was it called? It's Vanarama won it last time we was in when we were the champions of the Vanarama.
Remember with Skrill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
After Blue Square and before Vanarama, I think.
Lovely. Thank you, Dave.
Stuff. And last but not least, Ronan, how are you?
I thought I'd bring a bit of non-league by, being late and not being prepared, but blame my laptop for that one. No, good. I had a bit of a reset over the summer. Enjoyed the time off watching the soccer, to be honest. So come back with, a positive attitude and ready to attack the day and leave the negativity of last season behind.
This one, let's get into it. I'm not normally do the that was the week that was, but seeing as though it's been a summer rather than a week, and we're not actually kicked off the season yet, I'm just looking to see what jingles I can play about with to kick off the podcast. What have I got? Let's give this a go.
Captain, take my hand and lead me to the disco land.
We go we're truly back. Was that Shiver then, Steve? You're not a Disco Land fan?
Not that particular version, and certainly not now, as no doubt it will be consigned to the outer space of wildest nightmares, and they're pretty wild. I don't think we'll be hearing that again.
No, are you still holding Leon Knight accountable for our downfall last season?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty crowded field, but he could be up there.
Right, let's go through. We'll do this podcast in 3 parts tonight. Normally, obviously, we have a game. We're coming off the back of one of the weekends, which we are. We've got pre-season, but it's not worth digesting as the game itself. We'll talk about pre-season as a whole in the second part. But first of all, we'll talk about the vibes since the end of the last season. I'll come to you first, Dave. I mean, just give us your thoughts on everything that's kind of happened since the final game. Murray coming in, impressions so far, maybe taking us into recruitment a little bit.
Yeah, there's been lots of change, hasn't there? And I think we all agreed that there needed to be lots of change, and credit to the club, they acted swiftly and decisively. I think if you've had a season like the one that we've just had, if you want to try and stop that losing culture kind of spreading into the next season, you need to make big changes. And we've gone for revolution rather than evolution. And we've gone for revolution in the old-fashioned sense, the kind of the French and the Russian sense, in the way that there's been heads on spikes all over the Northwest, and kind of anyone who could be sacked, downsized, or had their wages cut. Pretty much that's what's happened. It's kind of a brutal trail of destruction that kind of first week after the Newport game finished. I think some of it was tactical, some of it was kind of financially necessary. And I think, to be fair, I think the decisive action kind of helped draw a line under the last season and got people looking forward in pretty short order. So probably credit to the club for doing that swift action and not disappearing into a 3-month long kind of navel gazing internal review. So that was good. I think appointing Murray, on the face of it, a young manager on his way up. I like that sort of appointment. I think I'd always rather have someone on the way up rather than someone who's done a bit in League One, done a bit in League Two, and kind of trying to gives you that impression that they're doing you a favour by coming to manage us. So I think the appointment kind of ticked all the boxes for me. He's obviously been backed in the transfer market in terms of the signings that he wants to make. This is very much looking like an Adam Murray team. The change in playing style was, I've only watched a couple of friendlies, but we already seem to be at least 1, maybe 2 yards quicker than we were last year. 50-50s are now 60-40s in our favour. We've got some absolute units. Hopefully that'll kind of translate into the rest of the season. And for nothing else, I hope that we're kind of in physical terms that we're bang at it this season. Because I think in the National League you've got that bit more leeway that if the quality's not there, then a bit of huff and puff gets the rewards even more than it did League Two. So far so good. I think we've had a decent pre-season, but it's the phony war, isn't it? Pre-season, none of it really matters. But this week is, I don't know, it's a bit like Christmas Eve for a football fan, isn't it? The kind of the run up to the first game of the season, because you kind of looking at all the good signs and hoping that there's good times ahead. But that first game of the season away at a kind of a packed out Hartlepool against a team full of good, decent players for the level could bring us all crashing back down to earth. But you never know, do you? And that's the beauty of it. That's why we keep coming back year after year, week after week, game after game. You never know, do you? So it's been a decent summer, I think, to sum up.
Yeah, and Steve, just coming to you, going back to the post relegation and the changes that Dave was talking about there. I mean, did any of that surprise you, like in terms of the kind of quickness, decisiveness of it, in terms of some of maybe the heads that rolled, or did it kind of play out as you potentially expected it?
I think I think decisive is right, and decisive in the sense that sort of if you're Marie Antoinette, but I don't know. I couldn't imagine a set of circumstances where anything that actually happened was unexpected. What surprised me a bit was there was no prevarication at all, which, considering we just spent the better half of an entire season prevaricating internationally over various managers' ways of playing, how we're going to do things, was refreshing to say the least. It was a bit like having a sort of bucket of water thrown over us after a pistol whipping. But nonetheless, has been very good. You've got to give them credit. I agree. They immediately went, made it very, very clear to everybody that there was going to be a change. They've certainly appointed an agent of change. He certainly talks very impressively, and he certainly knows his own mind. And I know all that's, all that feels like standard, but this feels different. So yeah, I mean, it's all systems go. I mean, I think, to use Dave's Santa analogy, Christmas analogy, if it's the day before Christmas, this Santa's going to be booting your front door in with a bottle of whiskey, swearing and knocking over furniture, because there's not going to be too much. This is going to be lots of fun, if you like your football sort of thrown to you like sort of Romans in Circus Maximus. But there's also but there's lots of purpose with it, and I'm sort of looking forward to, as the manager said, licking their chops with people not wanting to come to Barrow. I think it was the phrase. So if the manager's getting them to bark like dogs, honestly, in the tunnel, and it looked vaguely threatening and wants it all to be horribly vile, then I'm absolutely up for that. So, yes, I'm rather too excited. Ready for the new season.
Yeah, Ronan, what's been your impression, Adam Murray, since he came on board?
I mean, Steve at the Q&A last week, and he spoke incredibly well. But I thought Paul Gallagher spoke quite well in patches, but not going back to that. It's a breath of fresh air, isn't it? I think what's really been encouraging is we acted almost proactively rather than reactively, but there was a little bit of reactiveness in sort of the end of it. It's nice to see people have a bit of positivity around the football club, because if you listen to Beans from about January, it was a bit like watching a dog die, wasn't it? But look, it's nice to come back at Oak Street. My first friendly was it Mansfield we won 4-3? Or was it? No, yeah, it was Mansfield. And it was nice to actually leave Oak Street and just think, I enjoyed that. Appreciate there's no jeopardy towards the game or whatnot, but it was nice to just enjoy a game of football again, to be honest. And tied in with sort of the bits that are going on around the summer, and maybe personally a little bit more involvement in the club that I maybe didn't have before. It's nice to be back around the place. It's nice to have a bit of a feel-good factor around it. Everywhere I'm looking in the town at the moment, there's somebody with that black and white striped kit on at the moment, which is great, because that's exactly what you want. Unless you've got a massive disdain towards Newcastle United, not naming names of certain individuals.
We'll come to it a bit.
Yeah, it's encouraging, it's positive, and I'm looking forward to getting started. Maybe he's not looking forward to go to Hartlepool, where we get welcomed, with battens and pinned up against walls and all that sort of joys that go with it, but looking forward to it nonetheless. It's a bit like going out on Christmas Eve, isn't it? Going back to your Christmas analogy, and you've met the drunk middle-aged woman with kids, and she comes back trying to take someone over with her. That is what Hartlepool is, isn't it? You just get battered, bruised, and come back sad with your tail between your legs without a record. But it's a good time to play them. It's a great time to play them, because you don't know what they are, and we don't know what they don't know what we are either.
Well, we'll come to our North East correspondent in a second, see if he can refute any of those claims about Hartlepool. But just before we do, you talk about kind of vibe shift, and you're around the club a little bit as well, Ron. I mean, what do you put your finger on with that? Like, what do you think's been the kind of main things that have kind of driven that vibe shift?
I'm about to stick it for a football club again, which is scary considering where we went to the back end of last season. But the proactiveness, in a way, the way that they've made decisions, I'm not necessarily agreeing with every way they've gone about it, and some of the statements that have come out, or the radio interviews or whatnot. I'm not necessarily condoning all of that, but I genuinely think underneath it all there is a level of accountability. Maybe it's not accountability that we probably show, or the directness of which the five gents around the table do, but they're doing it in their own way, and I think I can appreciate that from a sense, because I think a lot of times with Barrow soccer, I mean, from growing up around the sport, we sort of go radio silent, and it's like, oh, we might have to announce something here, or do something. And we did it in a nature that read well to sort of 99% of the fan base. We've got the 1% which are a bit more sort of tread carefully around things, because we're not always believing of the immediate face value of what's shown in front of us. And I don't know any reason why you'd feel like that. Having watched the soccer for the last part of 20 years myself, and most people longer around this table. And I think that's what's been good. We acted quickly. We got a manager through the door, whether that ends positively or not. We did it quickly. We got players through the door quickly, and we got rid of a lot of the dead wood that we needed to get rid of. And most of them are now sat training with the PFA cam, ready to go and attack, whatever it is on Instagram that they put with the mottos and the LinkedIn stuff. And,
freedom!
And I'll say one piece here. It's absolutely delightful that Conor Mahoney still hasn't found a club. And honestly, every time that PFA list comes up and he's on it, I am so fucking happy. It makes me great knowing he's on a bad day. Sorry, that's tangent.
Yeah, no, I think
move on, Ronan. Come on, move on. Be the better man.
I can't. Every time I see his godless face, I'm just glad he's, I hope he ends up somewhere fucking horrible that's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, at least the windows of the crossbar are now safe now he's gone anyway, so that's a good thing. I mean, Dave, just before I come to our guy in the North East, keeping him waiting tonight. I mean, you've been around for so long now, Dave. Forgive me for implying that you're an old fella, but is there something different about this season that you've seen from kind of pre-season before, or are we just doing that kind of thing we all do pre-season where we kind of, reset our hopes and expectations and feel good about things again?
I think it's a bit of both. I think, yeah, we have had summers where it's almost like the ground's been locked up for a couple of months and nothing's happened. But I think there's just been kind of a constant drumbeat of positivity during this summer, which is slightly disconcerting, to be honest. But things like the season ticket sales being, the highest that they've been, the shirt sales are absolutely flying. Little bits and bobs here and there. There is some kind of negative stuff that you kind of, if you've got a bit of a sharp eye, you look at these things and you think, that's still not quite right. I mean, I'm, might be a bit fussy, but those Canada flags are still up in the Ulker end. Like, let's have them taken down. Someone's attempted to give the crossbar a bit of a lick of paint, but it literally looks like they've licked it on the paint. It looks a bit of a shambles, to be honest. But it's not. But that, to me, it's almost like that thing of reality of, well, do you know what? Every spare penny is going to go on the pitch because, we're not going to have nice things off the pitch, which might upset a few people. But at the same time, if we want a big horrible team of squad of 22 people who are going to run quickly, tackle hard, and kind of scare the living bejesus out of the opposition, then we've kind of got to put the money into the side rather than kind of nice things. So it's almost a case of, well, if we're winning a few games every now and again, then we can overlook some of the minor things. But yeah, as I say, overall, it's as positive as it can be when you've just lost your Football League status, and that's probably the best that you can say. I don't think anyone realistically thinks, and this might be famous last words, that we're going to go through the division the other way. I don't think anyone thinks that we've kind of lost the run of ourselves and we don't know what we're doing and we've appointed a complete novice and this, that and the other. We've kind of, as I said before, we've kind of, we ripped the plaster off and we're kind of looking to reassert ourselves. I know it's a phrase that gets used a lot, having a reset. But I genuinely think we have, because pretty much everything has changed since last year. Like on the pitch, there's a lot of new players. Obviously, a new gaffer gaffering around with the new backroom staff, new training ground, new this, new that, new something else. So yeah, the kind of, hopefully the rot's been stopped and we can look forward to winning more than we lose. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It certainly would, yeah. I mean, just touch on recruitment and Fraser, and I'll let you play a keen eye on the movements across the divisions over the course of summer. Was there any sort of indications early on in around the types of players that kind of Murray likes to sign, the team that was building?
Yeah, I mean, having watched his Kidderminster side in the playoff final, it was just noticeable. Big lads, big strong lads. Obviously, I had my eye on Emeka Roby, who went to Forest Green. George Walker was very impressive that day. I remember him, when he got taken off, he was giving the South Shields fans a bit of grief when he was going up around the pitch. So that was good. So no, I expected him to bring in lots of players, because one of his critiques of his time at Kidderminster is he went through a lot of players, and a lot of players he brought in last summer, quite a lot of them were moved on by January. So I've sort of got one eye on that the players he's brought in now, and given the fact the National League transfer window doesn't really close, and we can bring in loan players from the league above, that you'll find some 6'6" giant centre half or some big lads from somewhere that you'll bring in. Yeah, he likes a big physical sort of lad in there, but I think our team is looking really pretty solid. I think there's a couple of vacancies in there, and I think it's right for us not to fully go overboard in the summer, because there will be players that'll.
And what about the players who've hung around? I mean, obviously there's been quite a bit of movement out as well as in. Has that kind of satisfied you in a sense with the ones that have stayed?
Yeah, I mean, I've got written down here optimal amount of revolving. So I think there's a definite need for a clear out, but when you clear everything out and there's no one left, then that's equally as dangerous as keeping too many players from a relegation season. I think some clubs in League Two did us a favour by signing some of our good players. We've moved on some. I think we've been quite uh, ruthless. I mean, there was a couple of players like, I don't know, your Shipleys or your Joe Andersons that might have been all right as squad players in the National League, but like I'm just glad we've gone right. These can go. And there's a few that I'm surprised that have stuck around. I didn't. I thought Ben Jackson's soul had vacated his body about 12 months ago. I'm surprised he fancies it, but like I think there's a lot of like, especially MJ. MJ is going to be like absolutely like a man possessed this season. I think that might also apply to Scott Smith, Ricky Marper, Innes Cameron, Danny Rose. I think that you've got a sufficient amount of players still here who will be angry from last season. Will use that'll combine nicely with all the lovely new energy that we've had brought in from like Paul Kalambai and all the other new lads who seem like good characters.
Yeah, I think the only thing about Cliff, the only way I was kind of triggered by the goals of last season was when I saw Aaron play and Jackson just aimlessly lobbing the ball into the box a few times, and I had to remind myself, no, he has got that ball in him, and he just needs to find it again, and we're going to see it this season, and that's why he's still here. But Earing, that's going to take a little bit of convincing in that sense. And Ronan, I'll come to you because the main big thing for us, obviously, the goalkeeper, losing Stanway to, my God, I completely forgot, Cheltenham he's gone to, hasn't he, along with a former teammate, McCann, and losing Newby as well to Morecambe. Some people make a thing of the Barrow lads being in the team. We've got none going into this one. Was you kind of just expecting them to go and just thinking about how much we can sort of cash in, I suppose, with Stanway?
I think McCann's not a shock, is he? He was comfortably our best player last season, and I don't necessarily think that's a matter of opinion. I think it was almost tactual, really. He contributed us to going down, and probably made mistakes, but I think he was comfortably one of the ones you'd have expected to go to a higher division. I'm trying to think of nice things to say about Elliot Newby, so I'll move on to Will Stanway, who just needed a reset, like a massive reset. To be honest, I think maybe he's coming back to his local town didn't quite work how he wanted to do it. And to go back to Newby, I did have a bit of a joke there. It is sad to actually see two lads from Barrow no longer in the team. From everyone's opinion, and I know everyone's got their own more on it. I think it is nice to have lads in the team where possible from Barrow. I mean, that isn't, there's not an abundance of them, but it's and the same with Elliot, really. He's been offered a deal there that he probably can't refuse. In Morecambe, I think he's based around there in terms of where he lives. So, to be fair to the three lads, although I have my opinion on one of them maybe not being Michael Mateus, a footballer, I don't think you can knock any of them for want of effort last season. I think it just didn't work out for him for one reason or another. And I don't really wish bad on any of them, if I'm being really, really honest. Even from a Morecambe perspective, I hope Elder's all right, to be honest. It's really hard from Barrow supporter the soccer, but I hope they, finish second, get into playoffs, get all the way to the final and lose on penalties dramatically. But he scores his, so that's my hope for it.
Yeah, I feel that I don't really hate on Morecambe anymore because you've just gone through it so much now. It's not like when you've just been putting pins in the voodoo doll all your life and you just say, look, enough's enough. Kind of leave them to it now. Do you know what I mean?
Go on, soft, Steve... Jonny. Never forgive, never forget. I hope they get relegated again.
Yeah, actually, when I was looking at that bloody pre-season fixture, I was getting flashbacks. Steve, I mean, you've been at pretty much, I think you've been at every pre-season game, home and away. I mean, what's been the noticeable thing for you in terms of style and any kind of standout players?
Competitiveness. I've never seen a set of away games, with the exception of Holker, of course, so competitive. I mean, it's the nearest it's been ever like to I think I've ever seen to the real thing. I mean, that's probably the main one. We're going after people and teams as a collective, And that's obviously going to be the expectations. It is super aggressive. He talked about, I don't just mean, dark arts and booting people and that, although there's a ton of that. It's more that they're expected to recover any mistakes, and this is where he talked a bit about Red Bull philosophy and whatnot when he was there about gegen pressing and all. Well, he didn't say that, but that sort of counter pressing. And when they make a mistake, which they do because they go man for man a lot, and they really go man for man. I mean, you've got centre halves. If the centre forward for their team decides to go and sort of have a wander over to the right back position, your main centre half's away after them. I mean, I've never seen anything like I've never seen anything like it in my life. But we can, if you make a mistake, it is on you to, by all means necessary, to get that back, and it's clearly that's worked, and there's a lot of collective belief in that. I don't think we've quite hit the heights going forward as much, but equally we've scored a few, we've scored a few decent goals. The wide players won't always work, and we're still, the crossing of him being really, really picky is still, it's still variable, I would say, but there's far, far more of it. Standout players, I like the wee laddie from Altrincham in the midfield, whose name is just escaping me massively. Help me out,
Marriott.
guys. Marriott, that's it. Yeah, he's going to be great. He's going to be great. I mean, him and MJ, particularly against Blackpool, were just had them on toast. I mean, they really did. Dictating, he's quick. He doesn't do the fancy stuff very much, but he's always there. He's one of those. I mean, he's going to be great. You can just, I mean, and even the away game, like, where do we go that was small and weird?
Radcliffe
Borough, yeah. I went to all these bloody things and I've no idea about the names of anybody or where it was. I was just allowing it all to wash over me. This new positivity, but Radcliffe Borough was just sort of it was more of a sort of brawl than a game. I mean, it was tremendous sort of challenges, afters, people leaving their footing, both sets trying to impose themselves physically. I mean, Innes Cameron, who's hardly tiny, being poleaxed. It was great, blood and thunder stuff, but we played some decent bits in between. We've got some people that can take care of the football. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased about it. I've seen most of it, and I think my only worry is it's gone so well. Because historically, it's the Goodfellow law of physics. For those of you who remember the demolition of Morecambe 5-0 at Holker Street, where Mark Goodfellow tore through the defence like Figo, and then did nothing, and I think we got relegated. Whereas, as Craig pointed out, the year that we got beat off Furness Select, we got promotion. So that's my only worry. On the evidence, great. On superstition, I'm not sure, a bit nervous.
Well, I actually noticed before, I think there was 4 or 5 teams in National League who won or didn't lose all pre-season. I think Kettering was one, Harrogate was another, Woking, Boreham Wood as well. Is it Woking or Dorking? I can never remember the teams that are down there that we have to pull this season.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so, we're in esteemed company there in terms of going through pre-season undefeated. And I think Jonny McNamee put it on Twitter as well, saying he's worrying that we've peaked at some point during mid-July. So there is that concern. But let's keep it positive. But I think you're right, and I think everyone's been pointing that out who've been speaking to. I think if we go back to before, where we're saying, that clearing of the decks, that getting open up the windows and getting rid of all the kind of bad smells that would have hung around last season had we not addressed that. I think that's all impressive. But from what I've seen of pre-season, I think it shows a complete transformation of a squad, because they seem to possess everything we lacked last season. and everything we've lacked for quite some time. So I think that in such a short space of time, if that translates into the league games, which obviously Murray's hoping it does. Let's see how that looks in 6 months. That could look like one of the biggest transformations certainly that I've seen. But let's see how it plays out. What about you, Dave? Any sort of individuals? We'll talk about collective teams and efforts across the pitch. Anyone as an individual standing out?
Yeah, I've been quite happy with Oakley and Walker, how they've been linking up down the right-hand side. I'm going to give a shout to someone who got a lot of stick last year, and that's Innes Cameron. And fair play to him. I think it'd been quite easy for him at the end of the last season. Again, talking about clearing the decks, I think anyone who wanted to leave would have been allowed to leave at the end of last season. I think the door was firmly open for pretty much anyone, that as long as the numbers were right for the club, then I don't think we were going to fight tooth and nail to keep hold of any of them. But he's obviously, Murray's alluded to this in his interview. He's obviously come back and thought, no, I want to have a crack at kind of making it in the English pyramid. And I think he looks a lot better than he did last year. I really struggled to see what we'd seen in him, when we'd signed him. I mean, his goal record wasn't exactly prolific, kind of north of the border, but just the kind of his lumbering style, and he kind of looked as though he should be a physical presence, but he just wasn't. Barely had a shot on target any of the times he got on the pitch last season. But fair play to him. This summer he's come back and he's looked a lot brighter than he did last year. He's still not a whippet, but he's actually using his size to good effect. And he should have had an assist at Radcliffe for the goal that was chalked off incorrectly. And I'm really simple in my football. I really enjoyed that goal that he scored against Blackpool. Whitfield getting the ball. Cameron knocked it down. Whitfield went out. Beat his man, got a decent cross in, and Cameron headed it past the goalkeeper. It was really simple but effective football, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, well, going back to Steve's point about the quality of the crossings, still not fantastic, but I think if we're going to get more crosses into the box, then, law of averages suggests that, we'll get 2 or 3 decent ones over the course of 90 minutes rather than perhaps sometimes in League Two, where it's a case of, we've really got to capitalise on the 1 or 2 good chances that we've got. I think, averages wise, I think that probably bodes well. So yeah, I'll give a shout out to Innes Cameron, to be honest.
Cool. Any one we didn't mention there, Ronan or Fraser? You want to jump in?
Yeah, touched on it well with Innes Cameron. I think he looks like he's had a bit of time of maybe away from the club, and maybe with someone, maybe one of those, somebody where he's gone up north to Scotland or in his personal time, where he maybe learned a little bit more about himself. I think the one that really impresses me is Diggy at the back, and I've probably butchered how he pronounced his name, so apologies.
Diggy at the back.
Diggy at the back.
Oh, there's got to be a song there somewhere. Diggy at the back.
When we played Radcliffe, and I can't remember the forward was for them, but he gave him a bit of the rag about, so his response back was just to literally pick him up in the air and just launch him as far as he could. So yeah, but it's been interesting. I think we've learned quite a lot about these players in a short period of time, but I'm on the proper stuff now, aren't we?
Certainly are. And I think if we're talking about resurrections potentially, I'll put it on record now. Raheem Harper, National League Player of the Season 26-27. You heard it here first. So, my theory is that, again, I'd probably give him the kiss of death here, because I tend to, if anybody goes back to the Beans edition this time last year, they might not want to listen to my forecast. But I just think if Murray's about this kind of physicality, if he's about getting tight, and then if it is about also kind of getting that ball forward, finding that channels and getting him out to the play, he's got them attributes in his game, and maybe we'll just find a style of football that might suit him. And if it does, I think he's got the potential to be a really good player at this level. But let's see. I think that's us maybe being a bit too optimistic. And then in terms of hopes and expectations for the season, then Fraser, I'll start with you and then I'll go around the room on this to close us out a little bit. What would be a successful campaign for you?
Playoffs or the edge of the playoffs. I think having digested the National League Lowdown predictions podcast and combining that with my own thoughts. I think we can be quite optimistic. I think it's quite an open league this season. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 teams that are a little bit better than the rest, so Bournemouth, Carlisle, and potentially Forest Green. But I think we're very much in the chasing pack after that. So your Scunthorpes, your Southend United. Yeah, I think we're sort of in and around that. Yeovil, those teams that are like in that chasing path, and I think we could have a really good season without getting carried away. It just remains to be seen, like how Murray gets on and fashions this sort of team over a really long season and settles on a starting 11, and we know full well we're not going to win every game. There's going to be like proper bumps in the road. We need to make sure we don't lose our head. Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. I'd like to think playoffs, and I'd like to think Murray would be probably quite disappointed if we didn't at least like mount a challenge for the playoffs.
Is that a sort of developing aspiration, I suppose, if you go back to the point when we were, the end of the Newport game relegation, at that point when you were looking at a season of the National League, was you thinking playoffs, or was it kind of, the kind of Murray thing and the pre-season, the signings, the style of plays, that's what kind of convinced you that we're going to be?
It's how we've acted afterwards. I think we're properly, like, we haven't gone, like, we've recruited well, we've got rid of the players, we've got rid of a sufficient amount of players. I don't think, I think a lot of the other teams at the top of the league, like, you can look at Southend, they're being ticked to be up there, but Kieran Dyer's never managed a football club before. Hartlepool have recruited probably the best out of anyone. Lee Clark's not a great manager. I think it's quite likely that he'll end up potentially getting sacked, and they'll bring in matey boy who got sacked by York. And yeah, I do believe like even Bournemouth and Carlisle and Forest Green aren't that far ahead of these teams. So I fully see us going in and looking at the average position of teams that have come down being about 11th, and that includes Morecambe. Included within that calculation. So I do see us being sort of upwards of 10th and 11th into that sort of playoff contention for certain. It's going to be quite an exciting division. For as much as we chastise and malign the National League, I think it could genuinely be really exciting. All watched on DAZN, of course.
Yeah. Just for the record, I've never referred to the National League as the bin league or anything as such. So don't go back through old podcasts. Or you wouldn't have to go too far, to be honest. We've lost Ronan for a little bit. We'll let him stick another 10p in the meter. I'll come to you, Dave, for hopes and expectations.
I fervently hope that we make it to the end of the season with the same manager that we set off.
That's a good one.
I don't want to do any emergency podcasts on a random Tuesday, Thursday, Monday night when we've had a rush of blood to the head and decided that, after 3 games or 3 defeats, then, revolution must come again. Murray needs time. The squad needs time. I think the club needs time. So hopefully, whether you're kind of a impatient denizen of the popular side or a kind of itchy, trigger-fingered member of the boardroom, take a deep breath, give the guy time. Let's kind of be a bit steady as we navigate our way through the season. In terms of final position, I can argue with myself on any given day that we'll finish anywhere between 5th and 12th. So I really don't know. I'm looking at Twitter and all these here's my 1 to 24. It's the most pointless use, vital internet space is being wasted by these goobers and I think Hornchurch have recruited really well. You don't know the players. You've not seen them. You don't... Fucking idiots. And I think my one last remaining hope is that the cliche becomes a truth again and that Barrow does become a difficult place to go because it gets trotted out by every visiting manager. last season just simply wasn't the case. It was a really easy place to come, collect 3 points and disappear down the A590. So I hope, if nothing else, if we don't make it to Wembley or, get a trophy in our hands at the end of the season, I hope we re-establish Holker Street as being a horrible, difficult place to go where, teams are beaten before they even get off the bus.
Yeah, I like that one, Dave. Felicity.
Tom. I probably think I think we're gonna flirt with the playoffs and get in there. I'm less convinced that we would get through them. I suppose a couple of worries might be that physical, quick teams sometimes gas. I suppose would be a worry at points. But I just want to have fun. I'm not going to break into song. Don't worry. But I just want to enjoy the football again, and be competitive and annoying and Barrow like, and I'm looking forward to that. That with some degrees of success. I've actually what you said, Ronan, about the Mansfield game. I mean, I've watched some unmitigated, depressing, feckless nonsense for a couple of years now, and I just thought, this is all right. It's almost like when you surprise yourself that some entertainment that you've paid for has actually been okay. It's like a hotel that's got terrible reviews and actually it's okay. So I just want some more of that. My prediction is that we'll finish in the playoffs.
Ronan, come to you.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we win the playoffs. Really, I think that's the aim from the football club. I think they've made no secret of that. That the aim is to finish in them top 7 places. And I think if there's I'd like Dave said, I'm not going to sit and pretend that I know about the National League and what Boreham Wood's left-sided centre half does. So, but
that's Fraser's job, by the way. So don't worry about that. That's why he's here.
Vladimir fuck nugget. That's what it is.
I'm just excited to enjoy it all again and going back to places like Woking and seeing how much they've not changed rather than the other way around. But I still think we've got a bit to do in terms of squad wise. And I don't think that's not like a negative way. I just think we've got a bit to see from us. But it's impossible to tell really when teams like Carlisle can go inside and play 365 days of the year and just keep replacing them because for some strange reason not having a transfer window makes sense, weirdly, in this league. I'm sure there's many, many nuances of the National League that we forgot about or have been introduced that we're all to enjoy. Like, how do you pronounce the zone? Like, what is the zone? How do you pay for it? All these things to enjoy and look forward to,
Does anybody know the answers to all that, by the way? Has anybody figured out the whole subscription model, or do you pay for one thing and get like the boxing and the whole National League stuff, or do you have to kind of do a specific type of?
So the National League has a deal with NordVPN that they try and peddle every now and again. So I presume that's the league saying it's all right to use some dodgy stick and get the games that way. It's like just save your money on the subscription.
Like, I think that's a bit of a point and maybe a play. Go to the bloody games. Don't sit and bastard watch them in a pub. And I mean, I've done it a couple of times for away games where just time hasn't allowed me to. But go to Holker Street, get on trust buses and get yourself to games and stop watching them on bloody streams where you can, because the more people that are there, the more people that we can get behind it, the more likely it is to succeed by a lot of averages. So go. There you go. Positivity.
Yeah. That's one way to get around the confusion of the zone subscription model. Just get yourself to Holker Street, where it's actually quite a decent facility for buying tickets compared to some clubs where you have to kind of figure out and put every bit of detail of your dental records into some form to buy a ticket for a match. Talking about you, Bradford City. I mean, for what it's worth, I think I share that as well. I think I've always kind of gone off kind of logic of the National League is a very difficult league to win, but it should be a hard league to be competitive in if you've got something about you, a good manager, a decent enough squad. You're not a total basket case, and I think every club like that has the potential to finish top 7. And I think we're in that pack. So I'm with everybody else. I think whether it's an expectation or not, I don't know. I don't really have expectations, but there's certainly a reasonable hope there that we can be up there challenging. And then on top of that, I just really love to take 4 points off Carlisle. Take something from them up there and beat them at Holker Street. That would be lovely. But I don't want to get carried away. Hartlepool the weekend. Dave, you've been sharing some Hartlepool memories. Nice picture there with a sign. Was that please flush the toilet after use?
Yeah, that was from the pub after the game. The last time we went down there, I thought it was a worthy memento of the town that people had to be reminded of that sort of thing. And that was pre-COVID days, so it was hygiene was obviously in its infancy in that part of Teesside.
Yeah, I mean, Fraser, your part of the world. Are you going to jump in with some kind of Hartlepool, positivity or some reason things people can do to enjoy themselves around there?
I mean, I've identified a few pubs. It's a bit of a lesser trodden path. I think it's getting on the train from Newcastle to Hartlepool, which is quite easy, but I don't think there's no disrespect to Hartlepool. I don't think there's much cause for people to travel from Newcastle to Hartlepool unless it's for a football match or some rally of some description, which I won't go into. No, I've quite. I haven't had any run-ins with the local constabulary or anything, or any interactions with the local constabulary. But I've quite enjoyed my trips down there. I think that was the game Dave mentioned about between Christmas and New Year 2019 when I saw Dior Angus in Morrison's after the match, and I was there when Bruffy got sent off in the pouring rain a couple of years ago, where there was a couple who were being overly amorous in the away end toilets. I think it was covered in the Barrow social. So hopefully that won't be repeated for the benefit of everyone. I think for the benefit of humanity, to be honest.
Paris in the spring, Hartlepool in the summer.
No, that's it. Anyone know about ticket sales? How they've been going for the weekend? Any expectations in terms of how many will take along?
Don't know about the amount, but on the bus to amount of people calculation, taking into account the railway system's terrible, I would say about 500.
It's a tough one this time of year, and it's so many holidays. I mean, I'm away from Saturday as well, so it's always it's like you can't wait for the start of the season, then you realise actually it's slap banging holiday season, and and people are either going away or they're preparing to go away, and the expense of all that can be challenging, as we know. I'm not going to go around doing predictions or anything because I think it's pointless at this point in the season. And Hartlepool, fan opinion wise, let's get something after the game. Once we've got a little bit to kind of see and discuss, so we'll reach out to our pod. I think that's going to be our biggest challenge this season, is trying to find, a Hornchurch fan view or something like that. So
Loads of them.
I imagine.
Having sat through the non-league, what was it called, Fraser? It was 2 hours worth.
National League lowdown.
National League lowdown. It wasn't slow down. Well, it was slow down, for God's sake, because it was bloody. I mean, I was on. Is hour 3 out yet of the pre-season predictions? Because you were going out. They were doing it in stages. An hour and 10 minutes.
It was in 3 sort of parts. To be fair, they were pretty well informed. There wasn't a lot of nonsense in there, but yeah, it's pretty.
It was. I'd say it was for the purist.
Going. Yeah.
So they must exist. Hornchurch must have a person. Everybody's got a person these days.
That's it. If you're out there, when you listen to this, anybody.
If you're listening,
I'm looking forward to the Carlisle podcast. That should be good fun. Maybe we'll do a sheep dip showdown. We'll get them live on the show.
I'm not entirely sure what that entails, John, but I'll see.
I'll figure it out. It's a bit like that partridge thing, isn't it? Yeah, monkey tennis. Yeah. So, okay, any other business? I'm conscious of the fact there's absolutely loads going on, and this podcast has reached 50 minutes, and Steve, I'll give you the floor, but in about a minute and a half or so, can you summarise what's happened in the Barrow 125 world? Because that's been really exciting start over the summer, and it's gonna continue to to carry on across the course of this historic season.
Well, I feel rather I should sort of do a little sideways pass to Mr. McCarthy here, but I won't, having been asked, because he's been absolutely instrumental. One of the things, of course, is the sort of team up between the 1901 club and the 125 and raising money for that, and that's going better than it did last year, and quite and really good. So please do get involved with all those things. The exhibition's going really, really well. Really do go and see it, especially have a look at some of those videos and clips of fans actually talking about what Barrow means to them, because you couldn't fail to be inspired by that. In terms of the reenactment game, I really ought to just give credit to Ronan and everybody else. Really great laugh. Lots and lots of good different things we've got. So that's going brilliantly. There's amount of sort of art installation type celebration of the club Tifo in the Wind, which again, Ronan, you'll be hearing from that, and the club have been very helpful, particularly in ways of us managing to fund that. So more of that later, and there's other things moving on in the background as well, a little bit, that we don't necessarily need to know about yet. But there's a whole programme of stuff, absolute whole programme of stuff, and it's going really, really well. I give the club a bit of credit. They've released a commemorative programme / book that's been generally really well received, and also the beer and all sorts of different small things that we've been asking for years that they've done. So yeah, it's all going really well. It's given us I think certainly in this way, it's given us a focus to be positive, because I'm damned if I'm having a year feeling miserable if we're celebrating a birthday like that. So, I think that's helped with matters. So long may that continue, and keep getting involved, everybody out there. Ronan, do you want to add anything?
Well, I've got a full sweep there, Steve. My only one to add on was the buses. Buses are now on sale for the game Saturday against Hartlepool. We've secured a third bus. Buses on sale for Harrogate and Kidderminster. So they're all through the trust and ready to go. We're the only platform through the club, through the trust, that provide away transport, or try to, for all games. So try and use the trust where possible for that. And from our end, we've got our critical fundraising in the 1901 club, where, a lot of folk put a lot of good time and effort into the 125th year anniversary. And there's a lot of opportunity to support different events through that. And if you love, seeing my face on things, I'm doing great videos on the, the trust page where I am. Steve shouts me from behind the camera before, and, I might even release the bloopers at the end, if you're that lucky.
Oh yeah, it's good ones.
That's my two favourite things at the moment, Ronan. Your trust content and Barrymore's TikTok. So, there's nobody watching Barrymore's TikTok. Fraser, there you go. I know you bring me in there. No, all I'll say is on the 125 thing as well, to anybody listening, just expect to see more and more of this stuff around, heritage, identity, the club's history, everything that's worth celebrating about Barrow AFC will be celebrated across the course of this year. So it's just an opportunity to engage and to be a part of that. Steve mentioned the exhibition there. Get down to that. That's at the Dot Museum, which is always worth a visit, and especially now it's got a special Barrow AFC attraction. So yeah, all really good stuff. Really, really positive summer on the whole, on and off the pitch. Let's hope that translates to the results on it. That's the one thing we can't guarantee, I'm afraid. But who knows? We begin on Saturday at Hartlepool. Let's gather again next week and see how the bloody hell that went, eh?
Woof.
Ronan, Joe, Dave, Fraser, Steve, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Good to see you all again. And here we go. Let's do it all again, eh?
Cheers, Jonny.
Cheers, mate.
Up the Barrow.
Up the Barrow.